Good morning, it's GBS Morning Extra and we're just right on time for today's show. My name is Tom Mwem as usual. And remember, you can join the conversation with our usual lines. That's 21144, our SMS lines. And of course, hashtag GBS Morning Extra. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and of course on Instagram. And today I'm not alone. I'm joined by Rockin Okoth. Good morning, Rockin.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
How was your weekend?
Everything was cool and okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Karibu sana Micheli. Michelin Mwangi, political analyst. Good morning.
Asante, good morning. Yes.
You're good?
I'm good, I'm fine.
And you seem very happy this morning.
Vivo? Yeah.
Hope you are ready for the show?
Yeah, we are ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let's start with the news, then you come to newspaper review, and of course the topics of the day. Okay. And Morning Extra starts right now, but let's look at news recap. And in an effort to revive blue economy, President Uhuru Kenyatta was yesterday in Mombasa to commission the launch of Bandari Maritime Academy.
President Uhuru Kenyatta joined maritime sector stakeholders in commissioning the Bandari Maritime Academy at the Kilindini Port in Mombasa County. The new Bandari Maritime Academy, previously Bandari College, is a center for maritime training and was established as part of ongoing reforms in the maritime transport industry in the country.
The second step that we are taking today is the commissioning of the Bandari Maritime Academy. The academy has been identified for accelerated development into a center of excellence in maritime training, research, and skill development in the blue economy. The academy is expected to become a top supplier of world-class seafarers for shipping lines all over the world.
Through the academy, the government aims at bridging the huge shortage of qualified mariners in Kenya and the region to meet the needs of the emerging blue economy sector.
We are here to celebrate the recruitment and employment by MSC of a further 120 young seafarers, out of which His Excellency will be flagging 61 of them, including 4 cadets.
Bandari Maritime Academy will provide advanced education and training to appropriately qualified candidates, leading to the award of diplomas and certificates and other such qualifications.
And CS Magoa's calls to merge some of the universities and close down the small ones has sparked a lot of reactions from Mount Kenya leaders who claim that the move is going to affect the small economies.
Popular leaders in Mount Kenya regions are worried that the proposed closure of universities will lead to the economic collapse of towns that have grown recently on the back of hosting the learning institutions, a move that will lead to significant loss of income, jobs, and investments. Big and small towns like Chuka in Tharaka Nithi, Karatina in Nyeri, Kutu in Kirinyaga, Murang'a, Nyeri, Meru, Juja, and Ruiru in Kiambu are among those staring at a significant loss of income and employment should universities they host be closed or merged in a way that diminishes student population. Key losses are expected from unoccupied rented hostels, which already require millions of shillings to construct. Usually, local communities have been providing hostel services to students to enable the universities to concentrate on their core functions of teaching and research. Local suppliers of food, various services, and other products are expected to suffer significant losses, with some of the business running solely on support of these institutions of higher learning. Reporting for GBS Morning Extra, Sharon Maloba.
And the National Assembly has pushed Auditor General Robert Ouko to audit the books of the National Bank. But the bank had earlier refused to disclose their books of accounts to the Auditor General before the upcoming merger.
The National Assembly has ordered the Office of the Auditor General to scrutinize the accounting books of the National Bank of Kenya, bringing to an end an impasse characterized by an alleged refusal of the scrutiny on the bank's side. The Abdul Wahmad Sharif-led Public Investment Committee last week asked representatives from the Office of the Auditor General to send forth a formal request for the audit of the National Bank of Kenya's financial accounts in what was followed by a heated exchange between committee members and the bank's management. Abdul Wahmad, while making the pronouncements, extended a 14-day window to respond to the audit request while putting the public interest into consideration in the bank's financial performance. In defense, National Bank of Kenya stayed put in its openness to an audit by the state, but for its separation from the purview of the State Corporation Act. According to the lender, its financial statement is under the close watch of regulators, guided partly by statutory independent audit. Furthermore, National Bank of Kenya tore into the alleged full control of operations by the state, pulling aside covers to the supposed majority influenced by the government, basing its arguments on the differentiation of the structures of the National Security and Social Fund. Emmanuel Ouma, GBS TV.
And to another disappointing story is that it has been discovered that over 124 maize bags that have been stored in national silos are contaminated.
Up to 124,486 bags of maize held by the state in the Strategic Food Reserve are contaminated with aflatoxin at a time when the country is contemplating import of the grain to plug a beating shortfall. The Ministry of Agriculture has, in report tabled in Parliament, revealed that more than half of the contaminated maize is to be destroyed through incineration. The balance is to be used in the processing of animal feeds. According to the World Health Organization, large doses of aflatoxin leads to acute poisoning, also known as aflatoxicosis, that can be life-threatening. Long-term or chronic exposure to the aflatoxins has several health consequences and may affect all organ systems, especially the liver and kidneys. It can also cause liver cancer. The National Cereals and Produce Board, which stores the Strategic Food Reserve, early last month said that maize worth 9.2 billion was at risk of going to waste after the cash-strapped state agency ran out of funds to light storage silos. NCPB said its employers had gone without salary for 2 months, therefore paralyzing essential services. Kenya Power had also disconnected electricity connection over pending bills. The SFR board is yet to make a decision on whether to prove the destruction of the poisonous maize, despite recommendation by an interagency team that the grain should be disposed through incineration with supervision of Directorate of Public Health. The report tabled before the Senate Committee on Agriculture shows that about half of the maize with harmful aflatoxin level is being held in Machakos and Nakuru depots. The report recommends of maize with total aflatoxin be disposed through incineration in Akin, preferably Bamburi Cement Factory, which can attain temperatures of more than 2,000 degrees centigrade required for denaturing the aflatoxin. The government last week announced that it will open a window for duty-free import of 12.5 million bags of maize to meet the shortfall that has seen shelf prices hit 125 Kenyan shillings for a 2-kilogram packet of flour. Emmanuel Ouma, GBS TV.
Okay, thank you so much for keeping it GBS Morning Extra. And of course, that's all we have this morning to update you what's happening. And just keep it GBS for more updates during the day. And of course, you can join the conversation, #GBS Morning Extra. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and 21144. So, gentlemen, morning again.
Morning.
Morning.
Karibuni tena. Now, first of all, what do you make of that story? We have over 120 bags in the silos that are contaminated. What do you make of that story?
Actually, the country, I can say that Wanjiku in this country is really suffering, because if people can actually take their time to go farm, produce enough maize, then don't get the market to sell their maize, then that one is questionable. So I feel like the government should come in and, having a market for this maize does not necessarily mean that the government itself can consume all the maize. They can also bring foreign investors who are interested in our maize. They can get market for these farmers so that they can sell their maize even outside the country. So I believe that the government should actually come in and help the situation instead of leaving this maize to just rot and maybe lack market for the farmer, just for the sake of Wanjiku. Because most of them are farmers and they depend on maize or farming and agriculture for their livelihoods.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelin, this is happening at the time when the government has the food security as one of the big four agendas.
Yes.
What does that mean?
First of all, we all know maize. Maize is a staple food in Kenya since prehistory. So for us to hear something like that, it really raises question about whether the relevant authorities still have the capacity to undertake such kind of duties. Because we get to understand every year there's a harvesting season which is already predetermined, you know. So for farmers to bring the maize, then the government to store it, then go back again and buy maize from other countries, then it really raises alarm, you know, whether there are people who are controlling the market, whether they're not even paying attention to the farmers and their woes. Every day we see them complaining, trucks and trucks, they are zimepanga line pale, you see. So for me, it's again, you go back to the drawing board, whether these authorities, these institutions that have been mandated to take care of the farmers, whether they still have the capacity to do it. And if people are not doing their work, then some action must be taken, because people cannot continue to suffer.
And it's not the first time. So then
Yes.
after some time, we start crying that some areas of the country, they don't have food to sustain themselves.
And currently, in some parts, in most parts of northeastern of this country, the Northern Frontier District, the formerly Northern Frontier District, people are dying of hunger. You know, somebody will just wonder why these people are not being helped, maybe to achieve. Because if you look at the Big Four agenda, you have talked about the food and nutrition security, which was given around 42 billion shillings by the president in the budget 2019-2020. One would expect that such a budget should actually cater for food, and because the president anticipates that by 2020 or 2022, almost all Kenyans should be food secure. These people should get food, and the government can agree with these farmers to buy this maize at an agreed price instead of leaving the maize to rot, and give it to the people who are suffering in most parts of this country. Apart from just funding agriculture alone, they can also provide market for the crops and the food that is produced by the farmers.
Okay.
Yeah.
We seem to have a lot of crises in the agricultural sector. But let's look at what the dailies have this morning. We start with the Daily Nation. MPs now demand total 17 allowances. First, they raised their salaries and then awarded themselves a whooping 250,000 in house allowances. Now the men and women you elected now want to be given literally everything. Michelin, let's start with you. Daily Nation has highlighted how MPs have been working on increasing their packages every day and night, yet we have so many issues affecting us in the country, yet they are not discussing. And when they're discussing their packages, these guys are really united.
To start with, I think so every civil servant is entitled to an allowance. Yeah, so it is not solely the MPs or any other category of civil servant. Every civil servant is entitled to an allowance and should be subject to increment and, of course, to various variables that the SRC has seen that they qualify to be increase their allowances. But now, the fight between the MPs now and the citizens now is this money they want to be increased to 50,000. That really seems like a joke, you know.
There's also another 96,000 night allowance.
That is a lot of money, and what the argument is the common man, the common mwananchi cannot afford it. It is too expensive, and if it means really they have to increase their allowances, then they can go back and sit down, agree on a budget that is friendly to the mwananchi, you know, because you can always find other alternatives. I don't understand why you could be paying somebody 12,500 allowance per night, you know. There are cheaper hotels if they mean to sleep into those hotels. If they, you know, you can always find cheaper alternatives, and these people are just human beings like us. Yeah. So for them, for them asking for such an increment, it really means they don't care. They don't care.
Okay.
Yes.
You know, mismanagement and embezzlement of public resources by our leaders is like in their DNA. Since we gained independence, we have had reports of our members of parliament and just our leaders generally awarding themselves money. So actually our leaders seem to, the members of parliament seem to have forgotten their role in the constitution. I think it is Article 97 of the constitution which talks about the role of a member of parliament. It is clear cut. It reduces their role to 3 roles: legislation, oversight, and representation. I wonder how they have reduced themselves into busybodies of trying to award themselves money. You know, it is only a cook who decides which amount of food he or she can eat in the kitchen. But our members of parliament have reduced themselves into cooks, in that they want to everything for themselves. It is true that politics, especially the realist approach, speaks to selfish interests of individuals, and maybe our members of parliament and leaders might have gone there with their selfish interest coming first than the interest of the nation or the state interest. But actually it is very bad, because you have seen them actually, apart from awarding themselves this money, most of them are actually involved in or have been mentioned in very serious scandals affecting mwananchi. They have looted from public coffers. And even if you go to the CDF fund that was created in 2003, you'll find that most of these members of parliament are doing nothing on the ground.
And of course,
So
there's been question about how CDF has been is being used, and majority of them are unable to account.
They are unable to account for that.
Okay.
Just giving themselves trips to go benchmark.
Literally, MPs argue that these are our own creation, because politics in this country has become very expensive.
This is
first of all,
totally
because when the MPs are campaigning, they spend a lot of money. So within the span of 5 years, they're looking for means maybe to return their money, and of course, as an investment, they also need to make some profits.
That is bullying. They are bullying the SRC. They are bullying the normal mwananchi. So for me, I don't think so they are entitled to that much. Of course, they're entitled into some allowances, but I don't think the allowances should reach such a height, you know. So it is not sustainable, and you know, it is so sad that it comes from the leader himself, the Speaker of the House, you know. So if the Speaker of the House keeps on cultivating that culture of which every time MPs want to raise their salaries, they want to raise their allowances, what about the other civil servants who will speak for them? Yeah. So, you know, for them, they are so lucky to be vocal. Yeah. So it is so easy for them to bully these other institutions that are supposed to give them those funds, you know, for the treasury and other related bodies. Okay. So I would say not to it.
There's a very touching story here about the betting industry. And CS Matiang'i is now cracking the whip as vote not to renew some of the companies' licenses. Some 27 betting and gaming companies are living on borrowed time after their licenses were deferred or cancelled following the findings by a multi-agency board. The Nation Daily, that is, has listed almost all the companies affected, and now it has been discovered that the companies are making, last year alone, they made a whopping 240 billion, but they only paid taxes amounting to 4 billion. Betting has been a menace in this country, and the government has now come in maybe to control the sector. Okay, do you bet?
Actually, I used to. I used to
Then what
until
happened?
I realized that betting is also addictive, and I had to rehabilitate myself, try to get out of that mess. And actually, I can just say that Matiang'i is doing the right thing, because apart from the youths or the people who are addicted to bet, most of them are the poor, the paupers of this country, trying to reach an end using a shortcut. It calls for actually the state or the country to come in and salvage the situation. We should not just talk about the money that we get from the betting companies. Of course, the country should get a considerable amount of tax and cash from these betting companies, because the profits they're getting actually is more than what they are. It is like farming. If the inputs and the output actually work in, the input should actually be like the same to the output. If you expect the output to be more, then the input should also speak towards the same. So I feel like Matiang'i is doing the right thing, so that these people give back to the country. They should contribute to our revenue, because even as you saw the budget, we have a deficit. And if you have betting companies actually giving or getting above 250 billion or 40 billion, then only giving the country 4 billion, then we need to correct that and maybe change the other issue of border border. Instead of overcharging the border borders as was envisaged in the budget, actually these betting companies should actually be overtaxed to cater for that deficit that we are facing as a country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mitchell, betting has been a problem for a while now. We have seen people committing suicides because of maybe they used their salaries maybe or all their incomes in betting, and then they lost. And the companies have come out to claim that they always advise their users to bet responsibly, but it seems it's not working. So Mitchell, what do you think is the right way maybe to curb all these problems?
Well, first of all, betting comes down to a social-cultural, it's a social-cultural topic, For Kenyans, our social way of life, we were not introduced to mobile betting, as much as now mobile technology has spread out now to even rural areas, even to more urban areas now. So we find it is very easy for the common man, just with his mobile phone, whether whether enabled with internet or not, he is able to bet. So for Matiang'i, trying to curb this, he has come down to be a moral police. So it is no longer about what is coming in terms of the money or what is going out in terms of money, but now the social behavior towards it, because it has become irresponsible. As much as we have seen in other betting sites, betting advertisements where people come, they try even to urge people to bet responsibly, but I think that is not enough. So for Matiang'i, what he should do, as much as he's refusing to renew the licenses of this, you should then again factor in the money coming in from them is actually a lot. And the problem is, we had a betting and licenses board even before this menace became really big. But what we did not have is the capacity to control mobile betting, because that is the issue. Because we had casinos earlier and they used to bet and nobody complained about it. Because it was meant for the socially affluent people. But now this has trickled down to the common mwananchi, which has become now a problem because of the amounts of money that is being put into these betting companies. And the returns, in terms of taxes, they're not reflecting the same. So, forming a body that will be able to control mobile betting on its own. And I saw the other day they tried to put a fine for somebody who's trying to bet via the phone. Well, I don't think so. It is very advisable, because again, you cannot regulate me from using my phone in whatever way, as long as I'm not hurting the other person. This is my personal life. This is what I have chosen to do, and it is a hobby, just like somebody who is involving himself with either alcohol or smoking or any. This is a hobby that a Kenyan has formed. Yeah, so you cannot again come back and regulate his way of life. Yeah, so as much as you are trying to say it is you bet responsibly, then these companies again, if the taxes do not reflect what they input, there must be a law where these people are compulsory. They are given a compulsory task, whether to involve themselves in social works, to rehabilitate these people who have been involved in this betting and it has gone wrong for them, or even involved in other projects. For example, we have seen some of them, say some of the big betting companies involved in themselves with sports such as football, and other forms of sports. So mentoring talents, sponsoring, because again, these people who are betting are the same people who are playing. They're the same people who are working in those companies. So as much as you're bringing in much cash, try to show some responsibility towards the negative effects of the betting.
Okay,
But
betting has become a way of life maybe for majority of the unemployed youths.
But this one, to the extent that those companies can get 240 billion in a year, means that maybe majority of Kenyans, especially the youths, are actually desperate. And they are looking for money, because betting is about money. And they are using shortcuts to get money. Now, if you bar them from betting, then which alternative solution are you providing as a state? Because we understand the situation in the country. There is a huge unemployment. People are poor, you see. And with this widespread corruption, we find that money cannot trickle down to the common mwananchi. So the fact that majority of people, in fact 98% of the people who are betting are youths, people who cannot access funds actually to better their lives, and they feel like any shilling that goes into their pocket, they should put it into betting so that they can get something in return. So the country or the state should not just regulate the betting industry without playing their part. They should also come in and actually help the situation. And
the situation has been brought here because of the failure of the institutions that should be responsible.
Failure of institutions, failure of the fact that the state can provide jobs, failure of the fact that we are not arresting unemployment, failure of the fact that even the gap between the rich and the poor is not being reduced. That's the fact. That's the root cause of the widespread betting. Because in other countries, I was told that if you lose consecutively, like even 5 times, then you are barred from betting, because that one is very injurious to your socio-economical welfare. So unlike in this country, whereby if you even lose 50 times, the betting sites just get your money and they go on and on.
Okay, there was also a debate where Gatudu Member of Parliament, Monskuria, was saying that betting should be made a full-time job.
Yes, I think so. I would agree with him. Actually, my view is, some of these things, controlling them from a national level, it can be too big, because at first I said there is no capacity. Even if they meant to regulate it, it will fail. Again, it will be mad with such scandals as whether they receive those taxes in full. Again, we'll see these scandals. The betting money was eaten, So, if possibly, there is an ideology of you can make betting as much as it brings revenue. Yeah, it could be done at a county level. For example, a county can be allowed. Specific counties can be allowed to venture into that business by allowing betting companies to set up shop in their counties and regulating them themselves in order to gain this income. For example, Nakuru, these urban areas, yeah, for Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nairobi, for example, we have a lot of youths there, and this is where unemployment is at its best, yeah. Youths come here due to the rural-urban migration, they come here due to their frustrations. This is the only source of income they can think about. Yeah, so as much as they continue betting, it is easier now to regulate it at a controlled level of accounting. But when you regulate it from a national level, it is so magnanimous.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's look at what the standard house this morning, and they're talking about insecurity in our schools, why MPs want spies in schools, following chaos in secondary schools in recent years. A parliamentary committee wants undercover agents to gather information on students and point out the bad elements. We saw Auditor General bombshell on dam scandal. In a report to the National Assembly, Ouko is concerned that despite payment, there is no evidence on who received the money, when it was paid, or even who authorized the payments. And a veteran broadcaster, Leonard Mambotela, tells of those who are condoling with the legendary footballer Joe Kadenge, because he accused them of neglecting the family in the time of need. Gentlemen, yesterday there was a case of assault in Nairobi school. So this is not the first case. So is it that our teachers have failed maybe to manage our students, or what?
It also speaks to the law, because actually the law bars, unlike our days in school when we will get a serious disciplinary action from the teachers. Today, if you are found maybe doing that, the parent might take decisive action against you. And I feel like some teachers have been given some rules or guidelines to follow in terms of discipline. And assault in schools today speaks to that fact. But also most students in schools, I cannot say that it is actually a failure of the teachers, but some such acts in schools actually has been happening for a very long time, and you cannot say that it is a failure of the part of teachers to discipline or to arrest the situation. Yeah.
Okay, Michele, what do you think of our schools? Should we bring back the caning?
I actually read the Nairobi school issue via Twitter. I don't know if it's verified information or not, but from a screenshot of a WhatsApp group, the case was actually the student was beaten by the prefects. Well, I don't know if it's verified, but there's always a story whereby these big national schools, the prefects are given too much power over the students. Yeah, so if it reaches a place whereby students are allowed to punish other students, it really raises question from the principal to his deputies and to the duties that he has delegated to the teachers. Yeah, and whether it was the students who beat him or whether it was the teacher who assaulted him, it also raises question whether the law is being followed, because they removed, was it being called corporal punishment? Yeah, they removed corporal punishment in schools. So it is very unfair for a parent when she brings a child to school, then she gets a call to be informed that his or her daughter, is being admitted in hospital, whereas he left him or her under the care of the teacher. So it is very sad, and maybe appropriate action should be taken, and relevant authorities should look into the matter.
That's hooliganism. They are just students. If you categorize students into prefects, more superior students than others, these are just students. Some of them have been given some authority or some position maybe to guide the running of the school in absence of the teachers. Now, if the law removed corporal punishment from the teachers, who gives the student the right to punish their fellow students? That's very wrong, and I will actually, if I were the principal, I will take a decisive action against such prefects as an example to other not just students in my school, but the entire country, because you know, you cannot be in a school whereby the environment is so severe from your fellow students and expect such a student to concentrate.
Okay.
That's very bad.
And this is not the first case we are seeing. We have seen burning of schools.
Yeah, sure.
Something that maybe they are unable to control, but maybe the deployment of some spies maybe might work.
Now, will they come in as students or will they come in as teachers? You know, some things that people mentioned out in public. You have not, you've not even tried the practicality of itself. You know, you cannot bring spies. You know, in school, will they join as monos, Form 1s? You know, and even if they become as spies, yeah, under what law? Yeah, you know, the country is not, it has not prepared itself for such kind of technicalities in school. So, and this also raises question on the type of leaders that you have, because leadership, we have seen most of the leaders in our country, they began in high school, they began in primary school, up to the university levels. And you see the crop of leaders that you're having now, it is people who have been, they have so immersed themselves in the authority, a sense of power. So even if they start at high school level and they're not tamed, they'll grow that way until they reach up there, and now they'll feel they are the Judases now.
But the issue is that mentality of giving some students more powers than the others, yet they should be in the same level, all of them.
Yeah, you know, in fact, you know, the students and the question of spies, first of all, addresses or brings in another aspect of paying these spies, because they'll not be working for free. We will be increasing our taxes when we are seeing the whole national debate going against huge wage bills and actually reducing the burden for the mwananchi, or the punguza mzigo question. And but the question of the students and the punishment they are giving their fellow students, it should be punitive and punishable by any, not just even the teachers. It should be punishable by anybody who's, because as a person who is out of school, you know the experience of school. If you get a leader or a prefect, maybe you can give advice to such a student not to engage in such acts, because it is very bad for you to get out of school and you have actually punished your fellow students, and you find such students are the ones who will actually help you outside there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, let's look at the Star. The Star talking about PS Kibicho refuting the claims by the DP. The DP had claimed that PS Kibicho and other CSS are planning to eliminate him. And yesterday, Kibicho came out and said, if it's true, then the DP should go and write an official complaint with the DCI. And of course, the Uru blast coast MPs of a terminal. President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday ate out at coast MPs opposed to the running of Mombasa's second container terminal by Kenya National Shipping Line. And that's what we have at the Star this morning. And this assassination claim of the deputy president seems is not going anywhere anytime soon.
I think so. The government has reduced itself to a soap opera, to an example of an American action series. Yeah, you know, nobody. I don't think so. The DP. I have not seen the DP anywhere come out and you know, verify the assassination claims or even go to any relevant authorities to say anything about it. So I think so. Everybody had this from the media, so it is unverified, and you know, people should stop. Trying to fuel this. Yeah, you know, more and more. Just wait for the DCI to the office of the DCI to complete it. Then they can give back the report from their findings.
But we also saw we also saw Itumbi claiming that he has the video and audio tapes for the alleged meeting at Lamada.
You know, for me, and I feel like, you know, I like reading the book of Robin Asemuglu, Why Nations Fail. And one argument comes out or stands out in his argument that institutions, strengthening and building institutions and having faith in those institutions is actually one way of helping the country grow. This country have institutions, yet our media, our leaders seem not to actually see that these institutions should be strengthened to do their jobs. You find that we have, for example, Dennis Itumbi. There is our judiciary, and we believe in separation of powers. There is our judiciary, which can actually verify whether or not he's saying the truth, and whether or not he should be jailed or punished. And also the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, under Article, I think, 157, 158 of the Constitution, it actually speaks for the role of DPP, whereby he is supposed to prosecute people who are said or who have committed crime in the country. And if Dennis Itumbi or anybody, or even the cabinet secretaries or anyone commits a crime, not just apart from writing a letter or even the actual plan to assassinate the person of the stature of the deputy president, then it is upon the DPP to prosecute, and also the judiciary, which is one of the three arms of government, to do their role and actually identify whether or not somebody is guilty in this country. So we should believe and have faith in our institutions as the only way towards having a country that respects the rule of law, having a country that actually has people that actually believe in the law and the constitution of this land.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you see the Republic's deputy president having trust issues with his executive, because he's part of the executive, and he's part of the top leaders of the executive. What does that tell you, Michele?
First of all, the wrangles that I've had in Jubilee Party, whether it's for gearing up for the 22 elections or not, this seems like these people have lost trust in themselves, in between themselves, whether they made promises to each other, whether they made agreements that are not made public, that is an issue about them. But now if the president again comes in and, makes remarks that further widens the rift between the same leaders have built this government, then it raises questions whether it is integrity matters or whether he has seen them that they are incapable of delegating the duties that have been mandated by them by the Constitution. So the different crop of political leaders in these parties, should come again, go back to the table, because this is what brought you here first. Your unity, the moment you portray unity among yourselves, then this will trickle down even to the Kenyans themselves. Yeah.
Okay. And actually, the person of like the deputy president of the country, if such allegations can be brought up, and it takes this much time for us to get the truth behind that story, then there is a problem. There is a flaw, not just in the security apparatus of this country, but in all arms of government.
Okay. In
the executive, the judiciary, there is a problem even in the legislature. Because what will happen if, for example, I'm killed today? Is that speaking to the fact that if a common mwananchi...
Just hold on to that thought.
Yeah.
Take a quick breather, then we'll be back, then we'll continue.
It is okay.
Okay. We are taking a quick breather, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Bank sign and
There are even smarter ways to enjoy life. Just pay your DSTV account on time and unlock amazing rewards. It really is that simple with DSTV Thanks.
Kulipa is now easy with EasyPay. When you shop at your local supermarket, fuel your car, dine out, book a flight, make other payments or pay your bills, you want simplicity, security, and convenience. It's accepted everywhere you see the EasyPay sign. And it works with other mobile networks too. What's more, you can withdraw your cash at the supermarket till where you see the cashback logo. Get your Equitel line or download the Easy Banking app today because Kulipa is now easy with EasyPay.
Welcome to the Africa Cup of Nations.
The shots are going in.
Supersport is in.
Join in and stay connected to DSTV for the Total Africa Cup of Nations. All 52 matches live and in HD on Supersport on DSTV.
Welcome back to GBS Morning Extra. My name is Tom Wem as usual, and of course, thank you so much for keeping it GBS this morning. Our SMS line is 21144, and of course, ikikupita iko hapa, so you can just follow it. And of course, the hashtag GBS Morning Extra, that's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And it's a political Tuesday, so we are still weighing out the issues. Remember, there's Ukambani politics, and of course, we'll be weighing out on that. Of course, Kivutha Kibwana was replaced by Chira Hali Makwere in the Wiper leadership. And of course, there was a call by Moses Kuria for Kenyans to stop following William Ruto, and of course his rival. I don't know whether it's his rival or his enemy. I don't know. But many people, Moses Kuria has been quoted not the first time, saying that Kenyans should now focus on real issues and resist the theoretics of the William Ruto and his opponent Raila Odinga. First of all, I cut you short, so yeah, sure. I give you 10 seconds maybe to complete your statement.
So I was just saying that if the deputy president, an allegation can be made against the deputy president, and maybe take this time to find out the truth, then what will happen if such allegation, or if I'm assassinated today, or if I'm found dead or killed by anyone? How long will it take? Is it the classical reason why people like Tom Mboya, J.M. Kariuki, Robert Ouko were killed, and up to today we don't have any evidence, or we don't have the culprits behind bars? So actually this is very wrong, and this goes to our security apparatus. And even we saw the other day the PA of Murkomen, who had been killed in Wasingishu, and up to today even the leaders themselves don't know who the perpetrator of such act is. So actually our security apparatus seem to be in shambles, in flaws, and we feel like it is an urge from Kenyans that if the leaders can go through such an ominous situation or ordeal, then what will happen to the common mwananchi and their security? Right. And on the question of Moses Kuria, actually I find his kind of politics as populist and not genuine, because he was elected as a member of parliament, and today when he starts attacking both the Honorable Raila Odinga and the deputy president, actually to me I don't feel that he is very genuine, in his utterances, because as a member of parliament and as a member of Jubilee, although he wants to opt out to his political outfit, of course he is guided by the Constitution and the Political Parties Act. He can form another party or join another party. But I feel like his utterances are not genuine, and he should concentrate on his role as a member of parliament, because if you campaign from place to place, he's actually basically doing what the people is accusing are doing. What the team Tangatanga or Keleweke, because it is believed the Honorable Raila is holding the Keleweke team with the president, and William Ruto is holding the Tangatanga team. I feel like he's actually like blaming everybody in the country when he's supposed to do or deliver his mandate as a member of parliament, represent his constituents, oversight the executive and the government, and also to legislate. So, you know, laws cannot be made in rallies, laws cannot be made in roadside shows. Actually, if he wants to curb something, he can pass a bill in parliament and let members discuss and then come up with a viable solution, instead of going to funerals, going to roadside shows to actually talk against such actions or politicking from other leaders. As a person, as a leader himself is failing, because who else does he want Kenyans to look onto? Because he's representing that symbol of authority as a member of parliament, and if he cries fall, then where should his constituents look at? Who should represent them towards the same problem that he's talking about, if it is not him in parliament as representation and oversight? Yeah.
Okay, Mitchell, Moses Kuria has been branding himself as a 2022 presidential candidate, and since he started his moves, and maybe he seems he's now focused more on real issues affecting people. This is not the real Moses Kuria we know.
Well, I think for the president's seat, I think so it is too ambitious for him right now. Maybe he should focus on lower seats, such as the governor. Gatondo is in Kiambu County, so, you know, and we've seen that Kiambu County has failed to raise a leader, you know, a leader who can, you know, who we can see his traits that are good, you know, and also development traits, you know. So his utterances, again, whether in political rallies or whether in road shows, it trickles down to, you know, some questions or whether, you know, this is political grooming again. Yeah. So for him, he's not even supposed to talk about Ruto and Raila. You know, Ruto has his own functions. The Constitution has mandated the office of the Deputy President and delegated some functions to him. So him being he's literally the president. He's just deputizing on the functions of the president. That's what the Constitution says. So trying to speak about him, you know, what he's doing and what he's not doing, and what the presidency is doing and what it's not doing, it is not his issue. He should focus on his constituents. He should focus on development in his own area. And if he wants to, you know, bring up the issue of being a president, you know, I think so it is too early. We are 3 years from now, it is too early. Yeah? Hata kama tunasema lazima prepare before, then it is too early for him.
But you know, to me, I don't want to vilify his character or his person as a person. We know the history of Moses Kuria. We know his first term, when he could actually rebuke the media, members of the press. His character actually has been violent, but that one is not meant to vilify his character. That is who he is. But if he wants to sanctify his character and image today and pretend to be caring for the common mwananchi or Wanjiku, let him address the Wanjiku issue in his electorates in Gatundu. Because you cannot speak for the entire country when your own electorates maybe are not feeling your leadership. But to me, I feel like whatever he's trying to do as a person maybe is meant to propel him to the, you know, everybody's eyeing 2022, and it is political. Politically, it is a game, or it is a norm that after getting to power, then you have to look for means to maintain your power. So he might be trying to maybe look for means that will remain relevant beyond 2022. And to me, people have talked, and I feel like he is trying to prepare himself maybe for the position of deputy president, because he's not actually aiming at the president. It is said that you aim at the sun to land at the moon. And he might be actually pruning himself so that he is seen as a viable leader in the central, the formerly central province of the region, so that in 2022 he might be considered in serious debates or even around the table agreements regarding the leadership of 2022. And that's why he's trying to groom himself for that leadership position. Yeah.
But you know, again,
and first of all, before we respond, luckily you come from the Mount Kenya region. Do you see a scenario where Moses Kuria is grooming himself to become the next kingpin in the region after President Kenyatta?
Well, I think so. That is left to, they call them the royal families. But again, he's not in good terms with the Kikuyu elders, you know. We have not seen him being invited to, you know, those meetings. For example, the one that happened in Kasarani for the Akorino church leaders, and the other one that happened in Nyeri Stadium. So that is his own ambition, yeah. But when we say about the Kikuyu community or the Mount Kenya region community, especially his utterances and, you know, his political sideshows, yeah, I wouldn't and at all wouldn't agree with his style of politicking or his style of leadership in regards to being a leader for Mount Kenya region and being a mirror for the people of Mount Kenya region.
So he's yet to be there.
He is yet to be there.
Okay. Maybe he comes with the president's constituency. Maybe he has some plans. He's also managing the president down there.
Well, that is being lenient to the presidency, that is a political engine, you know. It means to boost you, yeah? Whether financially, you know, or whether in terms of popularity. But again, Kenyans are becoming wise. It is no longer about whether you're friends with the president or whether you're friends with the deputy. I think so. It has come to a place that Kenyans should think for themselves, yeah, not think who is a friend to who is an enemy to who, and actually focus and actually, you know, meditate on the crop of leader that you would want for you to lead you.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let's shift gears to still in 2022 politics. Now to Kambani politics, still under the same banner, to say, and we have seen the so-said kingpin. Kalonzo Musyoka has been facing a lot of resistance from the three governors, from Machakos governor Dr. Mutua to Professor Kivutha Kibali Makueni and Charity Ngilu in Kitui. And speaking of the Wiper track record, in 20 they only have one governor in Ukambani region, that's Kivutha Kibwana, and now they have replaced him in the Wiper leadership with the Chinao Hadi Makueni. So, considering all these moves, and could we say that Kalonzo maybe is afraid that Kivutha Kibwana might challenge him in the top seat?
Actually, if you are a leader of a political party and you have rebel members of the party, then it is actually your role as a leader to use the party mechanisms, because even Article 91 and 92 of the Constitution, Political Parties Act, talks about the internal mechanisms of a party to solve their wrangles, internal wrangles in the party. You find that what Wiper is trying to do is to try to sanctify their image nationally, because the leader of Wiper, Kalonzo Musyoka, seems to be left naked by these three governors, because all of them either have run or have an ambition to run for presidents in this country, and that one makes them rivals or political opponents to Wiper. And on the question of Kibwana being ousted from the position of chairmanship and that position going to Makwere, I will not necessarily say that he's trying to undermine, or he's trying to maybe Kalonzo sees Kibwana as one who will replace him in Wiper. I don't see it that way. I can only equate that to a certain book, 1988, which was inked by someone called Salman Rushdie, who was a Muslim initially, and he wrote a book actually condemning and demonizing Islam and the Holy Quran. And in his article or in his poem and book, he actually demonizes the Prophet Muhammad as a person who is not doing the right thing, who is actually like advocating for Satan, because even the book itself is called Satanic Verses. And you know, people or even scholars like even Ali Mazrui were like condemning, were talking about how people, the countries of Islam like Iran, the Arab countries, how they actually responded to that, and they actually categorized that move as one who wrote a poem about the private parts of the father, then went to the market, place maybe to recite to people at the laughter of strangers. So Kibwana can only be equated to Salman Rushdie for actually trying to make Kalonzo naked, because given that Ukambani is his region as a leader, because we believe in majoritarianism or regional majoritarianism, democracy or tribal politics.
But you know,
Kibwana,
Makueni County actually is the only county in Ukambani that delivered a substantial block of votes. Actually, almost 98% of people voted for NASA because of Wiper, and maybe because of Kibwana. So, don't you think that this rivalry between the two leaders might maybe affect the Kalonzo's numbers too?
That's why I'm saying, you know, Kibwana is like a medicine that might kill the patient called Ukambani. It is the medicine which is most likely to kill this patient, because he's actually dividing the vote, the block, the basket of the Ukambani vote. Because what I was saying, when you actually strip Kalonzo naked, when Ngilu maybe comes in and talks about Kalonzo, when Mutua, Alfred Mutua also criticizes Kalonzo, then you are actually creating a divided basket of votes. And that one is actually going to kill the patient, which is the Ukambani vote. And I believe that if they could only have a mechanism, because the Political Parties Act, Article 9192 of the Constitution, Political Parties Act 2011, talks to regulation and the way parties should run themselves. And I believe that Wiper has mechanisms that can actually address this issue, instead of people going out of the party and actually criticizing the house. And if you remember the history of Kibwana, Professor, you'll find out that in 2013, he actually went into office and power, not using Wiper Party. He went into office using his own political party, Muungano Development Movement Party, which propelled him under the umbrella of CORD to leadership. And now he feels like he is like aloof, yet successful from Wiper. He went into politics without Kalonzo, and he can get out anytime. Okay. So I think he's feeling like he can do it without Kalonzo, but I think it is a mistake. And as I said earlier, it is a medicine that will probably kill the patient.
Okay, Mitchell, in 2013, as Brooklyn has highlighted, Kibwana went to power with his Muungano Party.
Yeah.
So, and actually in 2017, it's actually Wiper wanted Kibwana more than Kibwana needed Wiper. So, where does that put Wiper as a party? Because in all these governorial positions, Wiper had candidates, but they only managed to clinch one, of which maybe Kibwana had it already. Where does that place the party?
Well, for Kenyans, first of all, for Kenyans, it has always been a tradition that people don't vote for the leaders. People vote for the parties they support. You know, and you know, for people, if they don't get to understand the manifestos or any, you know, or what the parties entail, you know, the public is not involved as much as the leaders who have formed it. And you know, this can be called like a boys' club, for example. Yeah. So these are just sideshows in those parties inside. You know, those party wrangles. So for Wiper, depending on Kibwana, it is true they depend on him. But because of the votes, not because of the interested in whether the people of Makueni will prosper, but the number of votes, it always comes down to numbers. Whether they'll get the numbers in the 22 elections, which they need, hopefully, if Kalonzo announces his bid for presidency. But again, removing him from the chairmanship, honestly, this is, they're seeing, like, for example, Kivutha Kibwana is undermining the leadership of Kalonzo Musyoka, and really trying to put Chirao Makwere. I think for me, that one is a corpse. Chirao is a corpse in terms of politics now in Kenya. He's old blood, and the kind of transformative leadership from Kivutha Kibwana, what he has portrayed to the country in terms of development in Makueni County, I think it is about time to distance himself from the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka and, you know, all those old blood in politics, you know, because it is now public. It is now public that these people in Wiper, especially in Wiper, you know, and even other parties, for example, ANC, you know, and Ford, they should really shape up, you know. It is, as much as you're gearing up for the political seat, there are always trends, and these trends, they show you, you know, whether somebody is still relevant or not. So him coming out and joining Gilu and Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua, for me, I think so it is a wise decision, and he should actually not even take up the membership position he's being offered still in Wiper. For me, he's an engine on himself, and he can prosper.
For me, and of course, it seems you know, we cannot write off the fact that Makueni County delivered most votes to NASA.
Yes. You know,
and because of Wiper. And now, even my, I come from that county, and even my member of parliament, we did not vote for Wiper member of parliament. Don't you think that maybe the Ukambani voters are now more wiser than many people might think, so that they're not just following the Wiper cloud?
No, for me, I feel like saying that Makueni delivered more votes for Wiper, then
I'm talking about
that credit.
Yeah, I'm talking about the NASA coalition.
Oh yeah,
the NASA coalition. Actually, Makueni County delivered more votes than any other county in Eastern.
I believe that you know, the person of Kalonzo had a role in the 2017 elections in Ukambani, because even in 2013, we cannot say that it was a professor who delivered votes. For me, I admire his character and person. I admire the fact that he's experienced.
So you believe his departure is irrelevant to the party?
What I'm saying, the move by the party to maybe bring in another person from another region, Makwere, maybe it is timely for them, because, you know, we have had people, serious people who are development oriented, like Professor. Professor, I like his way of leadership. He has actually delivered, and we have seen over the media what he is doing in Ukambani. And you know, but the politics of this country are not yet there. We should go there as a country, but we have people like Rafael Tuju who are doing marvelously well in their backyard. But the moment they started questioning the hegemony of power in that region, they were ousted from their leadership. We have had people like Ababu Namwamba in ODM, who was actually like the engine of ODM as the Secretary General. But he was ousted from even his position as a member of parliament for actually asking questions that are very important to the people. We have had very serious people in this country who, look at Isaac Ruto, what he was doing in his region. But because he criticized the leadership, the hegemony of power in his region, he was ousted. He went home without even knowing how he went home. So I believe that Kibwana, yes, he might be development oriented, but also we must put in mind
but
that
don't forget that
he has gone there twice.
He has finished his 2 terms.
Yeah, he has gone there twice, and maybe it is a way he's actually looking at the 2022 ball, and he wants to remain also relevant like any other politician, and he also wants to be part of the discussion in 2022, and he feels like being subservient to the party leader of Wiper may actually cost him in 2022. So he's actually preparing for his ball in 2022.
Do you support Rockin when he says that actually is the right move for the Wiper Party? And maybe the Wiper Party does not need Kivutha Kibwana services anymore because this guy is no longer interested in maybe in Ukambani politics again?
When I started, I said, people always vote for the party. People are always not interested with the kind of leader who is who has the backing of that party. You see?
But I have also responded to that, and I say that in Ukaman region, in majority of these down seats here, they did not go to the Wiper party.
Okay.
So what does that tell you?
These parties, they have no interest at all with the common mwananchi. They serve their own interests as a party, you see? So, Makwedi, I understand Kivutha Kibwana, this is his last term, you know? So, Wiper, we have seen this person, yeah? The next thing he will want to run for is the presidency, you know, or be a running mate for another person. So, for Wiper, they're trying to be tactical, you see? And actually getting a person from the coastal region is also a move to woo voters from that region, because there's always been a rift. All these big national parties, for example, Jubilee and NASA, they've always been a barrier for them to attract coastal. Coastal people are very undecided. They can decide to move to any political party when the election period comes. So for them, and Tana River has a lot of people. It is one of the largest counties in Kenya too. So Chirao coming from the coastal region, they expect to bring up, to bring on board more voters. But again, Kivutha Kibwana, as he leaves, there is no leader that has shown he could fit in his shoes. So what actually Wiper has nothing to lose, and Kivutha Kibwana has nothing to lose too. This is a 50-50 thing. What there is something to lose is the people of Makueni, because now people will become, even Jubilee, I'm sure Jubilee will field an aspirant. They will go to the root level, in order to woo, then you said the 98% of voters who voted from the Wiper party, you see. So that is a lot of numbers, and any political party will be interested to get them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That should be a parting shot because we are running out of time.
Okay, the Political Parties Act actually gives these parties the right to choose members or even to organize their house based on their majoritarian democratic dynamism and way of seeing things. And I know that this move is timely for a Wiper, and it also, as he has said, is going to woo the voter from the coast. And Kalonzo is only trying to crack the whip and have people who are actually supporting his bid, because if you cannot sit in the same house and all of you have the same ambition, because Kibwana is talking of being a president, and I'm sure they will not agree with Mutuo.
I think they should be subjected to the party's democratic process, so that they can decide.
The Political Parties Act.
Yeah.
I feel like even he should come and he should just come back to Wiper, then contest for the leadership with Kalonzo. That's the way to go. Instead of dividing the house, it is not right.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you so much, Rokin, Deputy Secretary General MDF.
Yeah.
And you have not told us where MDF will be this week.
Actually, this week we have no portfolio. We don't have anything to do the week, apart from the meeting that we are anticipating to have on Saturday.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michelin Mwangi, for coming.
Yeah.
And I hope to have you in the coming days.
Asante
sana. And of course, it has been GBS Morning Extra, a very candid discussion with my guest here. Thank you so much for tweeting. Unfortunately, we don't have time to read your tweets, but tomorrow we sample some of them as we continue with the show. Today we are being short of time, but don't mind. Keep tweeting. The conversation goes on online. #GBS Morning Extra. That's on Twitter. And my friend Kevin Yariki is coming up with Sports Extra to tell you, of course, what happened yesterday, the AFCON and among other sports news. So for today, have a nice working day.